Welcome to Making a Metaverse. I'm your host, Dan Pope, and we are making a Metaverse. This is a brand new show from us, the creators of the Cryptoverse, the world's most ambitious, largest, and highest poly metaverse. For those that don't know, generally speaking, a metaverse is a computer-generated, persistent, real-time virtual world where people socialize, play games, own and trade virtual real estate, date, work, and interact in new and unique ways. And look, it's really hard to make a metaverse, like stupidly hard. So for a bit of therapy, we've decided to talk about it. Once a month, we'll get in these chairs, get in these studios and talk about how we're doing it, how other people are doing it, what the big challenges are, and from a technical and philosophical viewpoint, and discuss how to overcome them together. This is the future, after all. Sometimes we'll have our friends from around the world on of blockchain. We'll have different members of the Cryptoverse team join us. We'll also get community members from our great community to join us and grill us live as well. It's just going to be lots of talking, a conversation. Like I said, it's therapy. To kick us off, though, I'm joined by my regular co-host and blockchain sensei and all-around nice guy. He's been waiting patiently to speak this whole time. Welcome, Cryptoverse co-founder Robbie Cochran.
Thank you very much, Dan. What a wonderful introduction. I was really impressed by how you started the podcast with this amazing introduction to what we're doing and why we're doing it. So yeah, thanks for the intro. Everyone should hopefully know me by now. I'm very blessed to kind of be the first person to actually come and speak on what we're going to be doing as a regular thing now. I'm really, really excited to be able to actually showcase what is going on behind the scenes from the development point of view, get everybody really excited, talk about the direction that we're going with things, your role as the community and how important that is in actually helping everybody, all of us, achieve the vision that we want to see from Cryptoverse, and the wider kind of questions around what is a metaverse, how we're hoping to accomplish it, all of these types of things. So I'm really excited, and thanks for picking me as the one.
No, we actually asked several people to join us, but they all said no. So you're like maybe fourth or fifth in line.
Well, I bet the list was long, so I'm happy to be that far up.
No, thanks, Rob. It's truly great to have you on. I've actually want to quickly sort of do a quick disclaimer to all the listeners out there. Rob, it's true that we actually know each other. So we go back maybe 25 years. No, it's not 25. Maybe.
We're going back to the womb there, mate. High-fiving.
No, so me and Rob know each other for about 15 years right now. We actually met at university. Rob, what do you remember about us meeting exactly?
Well, probably the true story is, not appropriate to actually tell in terms of, the altercation in what was said. But if I recall, one of your earliest impressions of me was swinging off a lamppost in the middle of a city centre. Sounds about right?
Yeah, and I always wondered, because you're not very tall, how did you get up to that lamppost, to the top of it?
I was like a little climber, wasn't I? Wanted to be Spider-Man when I was a kid.
Oh, did you?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, so actually we probably can't tell the full story on this show, but it was pretty dark. It was a pretty dark situation, a lot of drink involved. But the good thing is we changed.
Yeah, now we're highly motivated, ambitious, driven, idealistic, innovative. Running out of superlatives to describe you, Dan.
Just a dickhead.
Yeah, that's one way of describing me, I guess. Yeah.
Rob, with it being the first episode of the show, I really wanted to spend a little time profiling you. You are my star witness today. I want you to tell me your story, how you got into the metaverse, what the original vision was for the Cryptoverse, and how you're bringing this to life. In your own time, start the clock.
I mean, this could take up the whole podcast in itself. I mean, I love talking about myself, as you know, Dan. Like, I'm what's the word where you kind of image obsessed with yourself? Narcissistic.
Oh, yeah, that describes you perfectly.
Thanks, Dan. Yeah. So I'll try and keep it, fairly short, fairly sweet. A lot of people may already know if they're watching this as part of a Cryptoverse community. I'm sure that they would research who I am, or hopefully most people do, because of the space we're in. It's important to build rapport and trust, as we know, with our community members who put a lot of faith into us. Now, my story starts back with historically, as you know, uni, we both did his degree, we did a master's. Don't know how we managed that, mate. We bluffed all the way there. And then, so after that, I did various, like I would say, jobs that are not particularly exciting, to many would say anyway, in and around insurance. I did some manual labour, that kind of thing. And then I decided that I wanted to do some teaching. I was pretty good, somewhere good at writing stories and English. I had a natural kind of affiliation for that, so affinity to that. So I was an English teacher for a number of years. In 2017, that's when I started properly getting involved in crypto. Fell in love with Ethereum, smart contracts, the ideals behind what blockchain could bring: permissionlessness, decentralization, community-driven, DAOs, these types of things. And that was all kind of exciting for me, but I started to get a little bit bored until I found probably Decentraland, which is one of I would argue, the first original metaverse out there. That would be my argument. Other people would definitely argue differently. Of course, there's lots of other examples which, people can reference that have characteristics, or what I would call the characteristics of a metaverse, i.e. Second Life, for example. You could even argue before that likes of Sims and all sorts of stuff. But anyway, not to get too deep into that side of things for now. From there, I got quite involved in Decentraland at a community level to begin with, and then I started getting involved in the districts and the direction of that. So I was a board member on Decentraland University, which made sense with my kind of teaching background, history, and my interest in crypto, decentralization, and bringing education to a metaverse, i.e. Decentraland. From there, started playing some blockchain games, and this is where we started ChainGuardians, because we felt there was a large gap in the market that wasn't really, I would say, immersing users into the blockchain gaming experience. Now, blockchain gaming and metaverses, there's a natural kind of, I would say, a link between the two. So this is how it sort of, my journey kind of started from there with ChainGuardians when we founded that. And then obviously that as all of that kind of learning and that path has essentially led towards the founding or being a co-founder of Cryptoverse. And yeah, that's probably my personal journey. I'm not sure if there was something else maybe that I was supposed to elaborate on.
You've answered every question on my whole list, mate. I think just forever. I don't think there is any more. I think I'm out of material.
Sorry about that, mate.
No, I'm joking. So Cryptoverse is the metaverse. We're building it. You're building it. You've got a big team behind you making it a reality.
Yeah.
What does a perfect metaverse look like for you?
Well, first of all, I think that there is no such thing as a perfect metaverse, not now or ever. The reason for that is because a metaverse in many ways mirrors society, or it should do. And society is not perfect, and society is not perfect because people aren't perfect. And this brings us down to the kind of very fundamentals of the foundations of the metaverse is, the ethics, the codes of conduct, the rules behind the world building and so on. And if you make a perfect metaverse, it's like if we look at any sort of dystopian novel, Orwell's 1984, or Brave New World by Huxley, or even like Ready Player One, right, Ernest Cline. And if you think about these types of dystopian worlds, even though they're, in inverted commas, supposed to be created as a perfect world doesn't exist, and therefore a perfect metaverse doesn't exist. And actually what we find is that the more perfect something appears on the outside, on the inside, intrinsically, they are far from perfect. So I think that because people are the ones that should be really directing the building and the growth of the metaverse from that ethical layer, from those principles perspective, it shouldn't be perfect, but it should always always strive to improve, just like we as people and as society and civilization should do so as well. So I hope that maybe gives you a little bit of insight into my thoughts around what a perfect metaverse is. Of course, I could answer that on a more surface level and talk about, all of the beautiful tools that should exist, or all of the beautiful, I would say, world building rules that we could implement. But I think that the real important message that I need to keep hammering home here is that, the metaverses that will survive are the ones that adequately reflect the community. They promote growth, and it's driven by the community.
So you don't know then? You got no idea.
Can we cut that?
You want to cut? That's good.
No, I'm only joking.
Oh, right, yeah, that's really good.
Me making a joke.
Oh, right, Rob was making a joke there.
Rob's making a joke.
First time for everything.
Yeah.
Rob, I've got a couple of quick fire questions for you about the metaverse. I want to get your quick responses. Okay, so Rob, will the metaverse replace the internet? Quick fire responses.
Gut reaction, yes.
Okay. Rob, what sensations will you be able to feel in the metaverse?
Everything.
Go on. Talk to me. Go into detail about
You said quickfire.
Yeah, but go into detail about the sensations.
Well, now you're changing the goalposts. I could have answered the other question differently if you're now allowing me to elaborate.
No elaboration. Are we in the Matrix right now, Rob?
Sometimes.
What?
You said quickfire. I'm just answering quickfire.
Okay, yeah, okay. And Rob, can you fly in the metaverse?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a yes, isn't it? Because you can, like a computer game, innit? Flying.
I'm just answering it quickfire, mate. I'm not elaborating.
Okay, so Rob, I think that's very clear. I think you've given us a really good background there around Cryptoverse and yourself, and I think that's just the community. Obviously, you already know that you're a celebrity in this world already, so people have seen all that before. One thing you touched upon, I think, briefly there was the idea of kind of like. I guess the community driving what happens. Is that like a key principle of decentralization?
100%.
For people that don't know, what is decentralization and kind of what's the difference between kind of Web 2.0 and 3.0? How does that all fit together?
So it's two slightly different questions. I think you can build a Web 2.0 protocol, which is technically decentralized. But, decentralization is effectively there's no central authority, that is basically governing it, and for obviously for Cryptoverse, the goal is to have the community govern large parts of it. Of course, operationally, you always need some central figures to make some key decisions at times, but in principle, it's about essentially trying to adhere to the community's kind of voting and wishes and, within like sensible reason, following kind of different, discussional paths and requirements to implement, their will as far as is reasonably possible, without, complementing, without, I would say, actively potentially working against or I'm looking for a particular word, but essentially causing an issue with the integrity of the platform or product, right? So that's where at times you still need somebody to maybe kind of veto certain things. But ultimately, like true decentralization is purely at the point of like a DAO is completely community-led direction of a platform or product. Difference between Web 2.0 and 3.0 is just more of like a technical term in terms of like, how the platform works. Web 3.0 has blockchain involved, Web 2.0 doesn't. So there's an additional layer of, authentication there, if you like.
There's a big question for you here. Do you think that the world as we live in it now, aka reality, is that decentralized? Is that the same thing? Or would you say we live in a centralized world?
Well, there's aspects of, it depends on your philosophical perspective, I think, doesn't it? Because from the way we have been educated and conditioned to believe Western society would reflect decentralization and democracy would, right? But of course, we know that the entire world does not run upon a democracy. And we also know, or people should know, that that democracy is not without its flaws as well. So ultimately, I think that my personal reaction to that would be that there is elements of our reality, our civilization, which are decentralized, but not in its entirety.
Rob, I've been on a search for the best metaverse joke in the world, right? And what I'm finding is that there's a lot of memes in blockchain, right? There's a lot of memes. They're all great. We did a meme competition. It was awesome. People put your head on stuff. You look ridiculous. We'll post some of them somewhere so you can look.
I think
at
that was the body issue, though. Putting my head on Zuckerberg's body is. Ugh.
How does that make you feel?
It hurts me deep inside. But it's funny.
Yeah. No, I loved it. It was a great meme.
Yeah.
Do more of them. Put Rob's head on Mark Zuckerberg
Be
constantly.
careful here.
Yeah. I'm fired, everyone. So thank you for listening. So I've been on a journey to find the world's best metaverse joke, and we'll see if we get it in this episode. We'll see if we're not, and it's up to you to decide. And maybe the community can message in and say whether they like it or not. So are you ready for this? Yeah. I've got a couple. So
your delivery always makes me laugh anyway.
Well, that's the challenge, So I'm
looking at your face most of the time makes me laugh.
Looking at my face makes you laugh. Brilliant.
It's the only reason I hired you.
Yeah. I'm a buffoon. Okay, so Rob, are you ready?
Yes, I think so.
So, right. So I had a £1 coin. Yeah, £1 coin. You following?
So, or $1 for our.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a $1 coin.
Or a €1 coin.
Or a coin. Yeah. You ruined the joke. I had a £1 coin, but then my dog got hold of it. Yeah.
All right.
It's now a Bitcoin.
Well, that's more of a crypto joke than a metaverse joke.
Yeah, they're all the same. They're all packaged. You're gonna shout at me. They're not all the same, but So what do we think about that? 8 out of 10.
It's like a 6.
6. Okay, that's what people used to call me at uni. A 6. I don't know why. Weird. I don't actually get this next one. So Rob, where does an Eskimo keep his Bitcoin?
Where does an Eskimo keep his Bitcoin?
In his cold wallet.
I
don't even understand that.
No, that's just like really educational joke. Like, it's a good joke to tell for educational purposes.
And that's partly what this show is, educating people on metaverses, blockchain, etc.
Yeah.
So I've got one more for you.
Okay.
Why won't the government embrace Bitcoin?
Go on.
They hate the idea of proof of work.
Yeah, that's a better one. That's a much better one.
I don't even understand it, but you're laughing, so I think that is the winner for this week, is it?
That's definitely the winner, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that one.
Tune in next month for the best metaverse jokes. Rob, so on my screen here, I have a bunch of stats, right? I've written all the stats around the world about metaverses, and I'm going to read some to you, and I want you to guess what they are, first of all, and we'll just sort of talk about your thoughts on them as a self-proclaimed Bitcoin blockchain expert. That's what you call yourself, don't you?
No, I don't call myself that. Or...
What you do, because that's what you said
on
the way in.
Smart people admit that they know nothing at all, right? So I'm going to try and be that smart person.
Here we go. Rob was saying that. He was going to say that on the train on the way here. So
I wasn't even on the train with you.
He's got these written on his arm.
That's a tattoo.
Oh, yeah. Who knows what it says? No one. I don't think even you know what it says.
I think it says the wrong thing that it was supposed to when I got it done.
We'll put a picture of that online. Rob, okay, so what I wanted to ask you is, how many users do you think currently there are in the world currently using metaverse platforms monthly? Let me give you a steer, right? I don't want you just to go in randomly, because you get it completely wrong, and then you'll make me cut it, and then
and I'll look silly in front of our community, and
that's the last thing I want.
Yeah,
I want you to look awesome, because you're a great, as you say, you're the smartest guy in blockchain.
Stop that.
No, so Rob, it's not more than 1 billion. And it's not more than 1 million. No, it is more than 1 million. So it's between 1 million and 1 billion. How many monthly users are there?
Can I ask a question before I answer?
All right, Carol Vorderman.
Most of our international community members won't get that reference.
She doesn't even do countdown anymore.
I was going to say,
She's like been off the air for 10 years. She's like a maths person, and she's very good at it.
Yes, exceptional, actually. Okay, my question is, like, how are we defining metaverse?
Oh, good question. That you've absolutely got the trick. It's a trick question. You're right. It's a metaverse is it could be anything from Roblox to Minecraft. It doesn't have to be Decentraland only, for example.
Okay, right, yeah. So you're asking me how many people actually use this airy fairy abstract version of the word metaverse for centralized proprietary owned platforms as well as part of this question?
Yeah, that was definitely my question.
Okay. So less than 1 billion, more than 1 million. So if we think about probably the amount of players that Fortnite has and Roblox has and Minecraft, I can presume maybe is included in this statistical abstract data that you've got. So they're very popular games. And then if you include in actual metaverse platforms, of which there's not many, and they don't have huge amounts of adoption currently, that's only a few K. I don't know, 600 mil?
It's an educated guess, listeners. Actually, there are 470 million people sort of playing on different metaverse platforms every single month.
Yeah.
You're right, though. You did sort of name a lot of the most popular ones. And actually, what do you think is number one? If we just take sort of Roblox, Minecraft as Fortnite as the top three, right?
Yeah.
Which is crazy because none of them are decentralized metaverse, etc. But they are the top
gaming
three.
platforms, really, yeah. But yeah.
What is interesting about that, though, is that I actually see that where the mass adoption comes from, right? So they're sort of getting used to that now in a very centralized way.
Yeah.
Are they the people we need to be pulling across to decentralization in the future?
I think it's widely acknowledged from our own research, actually, from a marketing perspective, obviously.
Loads of that. I've done loads of that.
I am great at my job, says Dan. So I would say, research analysis, right? And also just who where I've come from on my journey and my communications with people in and around different communities, what you see put out on social media and all of these different, I would say, influencers to form this opinion is that generally speaking, we know as of right now, the main user base is typically males, typically have interest in things like gaming and investment and like ownership and whatever else. And they're usually in between the ages of sort of, for particular like crypto anyway, say sort of 20 to sort of 45, 50. Now, if you then start to obviously kind of include that generation of who's probably more playing Minecraft, Fortnite or whatever, let's say 12, 11, 13-year-old lads probably mostly, up to 18, 19, 20. And I'm sure older people in this play them and whatever as well. But just as a very generalization, I would say that that generation is the generation of users that's going to be mainly adopting the decentralized metaverse platforms because they're the ones that by the time that they're mostly ready will be the ones that are starting to kind of harness their and harbor their curiosity to be exploring these metaverses. So, yeah.
So
long-winded answer.
No, that's great. And actually, of those top three, Roblox, Minecraft, and Fortnite, what would you say is the most popular right now in the world?
Oh, good question. I even go back to thinking about when I was a teacher and the ones that they talked about the most, but that also depends on the age, doesn't it? I tended to teach older teenagers, so I think they were more into Fortnite because it was more, I would say, battle in it, FPS. So, but then the younger ones, I could see more, like the 12, I could see them probably playing more like Roblox or Minecraft. So it's just a pure guess, right? I would guess at Minecraft.
Incorrect.
Damn. Which one?
So Roblox has got 200 million active users.
Wow, okay.
Minecraft 170 and Fortnite 80.
Okay, yeah. Well, Fortnite probably were higher at one point, I would guess. But I wasn't too far off, right? Minecraft and Roblox quite close together.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy question. I think what I would say is actually I'm not too sure how good these stats are because it says Second Life has 1 million active users. And I'm sure it's been shut down about 25 years.
No. Second Life's still going now. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, quite a few community members that stepped across into Decentraland in around 2017 came from Second Life. Funnily enough, certainly some of the earlier pioneers, because they'd been involved with Second Life for so long. And it was still going then because I knew they were still involved in Second Life. I'm not sure how proactively it's been developed at this stage. I think maybe it's not, but I'm not. Don't quote me on that. I'm not sure.
Can we quote him on that? Yeah, can we quote you on that?
You quoted me on that.
No, Rob. So one of the highest on it, number 8 on this list, is Decentraland, actually. And I've got some interesting news about Decentraland that I want just to run by you.
Yeah.
Recently, they opened their first hotel. And basically, this is, it's M Social. There's a lobby you go into, you check in, you go into your room, you've got an avatar receptionist that sort of greets you.
Yeah.
And then you can sort of mingle with different guests, go to events, and you stay the night. I'm struggling to get my head around staying the night at a virtual hotel. Is that me pressing night and then sort of going to bed in real life, or am I just watching my screen going to sleep all night?
I haven't played the experience, so I don't know how they've delivered that. I would imagine it's more metaphorical, right?
Yeah.
It's like providing a hotel experience as part of going to events and whatever.
Yeah.
How they execute the night bit, I don't know. Like log off, go to your actual physical bed while your avatar's metaphorically sleeping, perhaps. Or maybe they do just allow you to lay down and watch your character Zed. I actually don't know because I haven't played the experience, but either's possible, I guess. Yeah, but it's cool.
It is cool. It actually reminds me of one of the original metaverses, or the idea of it actually. Habbo Hotel, I think.
Habbo Hotel.
Habbo Hotel.
Is that what they've called it?
No. Do you know what Habbo Hotel is?
No.
Habbo Hotel was a platform in around 2004 where you can get an avatar and you can knock about with other sort of young kids. I was young at the time.
I was going to say, mate, like...
No, I was young, and you basically be able to build your own rooms and sort of socialise, and it was fantastic. And I think more people need to know. I'm surprised you don't know. I thought you'd be on it all the time.
Yeah, no. It's one that escaped me. But it sounds similar to, or have similar gamification kind of elements as, say, like Sims or Theme Hospital. Or...
It looked like Theme Hospital. The graphics did look like Theme Hospital.
Yeah.
It was for kids as well. It was really around sort of the 13 to 16 age sort of thing. My first girlfriend was on Habbo Hotel, for example.
Of course she was.
And last.
Metaverse girlfriend. Yeah.
Yeah,
when every other girl that's found out that you used to play Habbo Hotel since has just refused to date you.
Yeah, no, I've ruined my reputation by mentioning that.
Street cred gone.
Didn't have any anyway, so I'm fine. Rob, actually, an interesting about Decentraland as well recently come out that in November just gone, they sold a 500 square meter plot for $2.5 million, breaking the record for the largest ever metaverse land acquisition. What do you think about
that? Did Decentraland sell it, or did a community member who owns the land sell it for that price?
Well, it just says here it was sold, okay?
It's not clear.
Yeah, it's not clear.
Okay. Because... I have some problems with some of these statistical data points because, unfortunately, it's fairly well known, amongst the crypto community. NFTs are bought and sold at large amounts for a number of different reasons. Some would speculate that it can be for taxation purposes. Some would speculate that it's for wash trading purposes, to like heighten the kind of price point of what something's sold for. So I don't want to kind of like, I don't give too much thought to that because sadly, and I'm a huge fan of Decentraland. My roots are there. I love the people that work on it. What they've achieved is phenomenal. But I don't think there's any metaverse land that's worth 2.5 million for that size anyway currently, because the platforms aren't mature enough, wide enough adoption. So I would question, I would have suspicions about that price data point. The only way it might be even conceivable would be dependent on location, much like real life, like location matters, right? You pay a lot for something that's smack bang right next to the main point in where all the data is coming from. So it's a very, highly speculative purchase potentially in that way. And I know Decentraland's kind of the price points for their lands have matured very well anyway, because of how long it's been around and because they're doing good things. So the land there is quite expensive, but 500 metre squares for 2.5 million, just my instant reaction is it doesn't add up.
No, fair enough. And it sounds a bit like you talked about sort of driving the price up. Is that where someone potentially someone could buy it for a lot of money to drive the market up, prices up generally?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, could be one reason. Sometimes it's just like you've just quoted this story to me. It gets you talking about it as well. the owner of that, therefore, will be getting notoriety, for example, potentially. I don't know. There could be a huge amount of reasons why that is, but it's not uncommon for a lot of wash trading to happen in NFTs.
Shall we go halves on it and offer them 5 million? Let's get that up and get some notoriety ourselves.
Yeah, have you got 2.5 mil sat in your bank?
Can I have a pay rise?
Not to 2.5 mil.
It's an option. Rob, one of the last stories I want to tell you about is that the US military is developing its own metaverse now as well. So it's a bit more of like an AR play. So it's kind of like fighter pilots flying through the sky. They've got these helmets on.
Yep.
It gives them like more information on what's going on. You know, how do you feel about something like the US military using this technology for, you know, essentially a battle and protection and defense?
It goes back to the point I made before. How actively involved is the community? Do they have a community, the US Army? Is there land ownership? Is there any world building that occurs from a decentralized perspective? If answer to all those questions is no, it's not a metaverse. So it's irrelevant to talk about it.
Yeah, well, one of the things they're doing is actually doing like big battle simulations, like sort of Call of Duty type things.
So it's training.
It's basically
simulation,
yeah,
using virtual reality or augmented reality. Doesn't make it a metaverse.
It doesn't, does it?
No.
It's not a permanent state, is it? It's just like loading up a scenario and they're shooting each other like Call of Duty, essentially.
Yeah, it goes back to the whole like the definition of the metaverse stuff as well, doesn't it? Right? Like for me, it's just not a metaverse. So look, it's cool. I'm glad that this tech is enabling. Whether it's the US Army, so like, you know, a proportion of a government, or whether it's, you know, traditional businesses in any way, shape or form to leverage this, it just shows that, you know, consumer sentiment, the appetite for virtual reality, augmented reality, these types of digital experiences is growing. So it's all good stuff. But as far as the definition as a metaverse goes, it's not a metaverse, in my opinion. It's just not. So
there you go, US Army. It's not a metaverse. Rob Cochran's told you. Shut it down.
Exactly.
Shut it down.
Yeah. No, don't shut it down. Do what you're doing, but just like,
he said shut it down, everyone.
The news articles are reporting, right, I guess, that it's a metaverse, right? But it's a general, I would say, common misconception. It's a centralized virtual world, very different from my perspective on the definition of what a metaverse is. If we think about where, and I've talked about this in the past, people may have heard of it. If you think about where the word metaverse comes from, it comes from Neil Stephenson's Snow Crash novel, right?
1992.
Yeah. And if we look at the characteristics of what made that a metaverse and how that word was used, these platforms don't share those characteristics. So it's incorrect definitions applied to the incorrect product.
Rob, I want to switch focus now and sort of get some questions from the Cryptoverse community, right? So before this podcast started, I put a big message out there and I said, guys, what do you want to hear us talk about, right? So they said lots of great questions. And actually, what I was thinking is maybe next month we get some of them on the show to talk to us live, right? Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome. I literally love that. I think it's the most important part of this, right, is to get the community involved and to ask those burning questions, 100%.
And one of the things we always talk about is, although we are technically building the metaverse, we're just building the platform. It is those guys that are going to kind of make the metaverse, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think you can't just be like, community, make a metaverse, unfortunately, right? It doesn't happen like that. There needs to be someone making decisions in the early stages, even if they're just placeholders, right? In line with a vision that's presented to a community that everyone buys into. So you get that core community behind it, one goal, one vision you can build towards that, right? So that's what we're doing. But the focus is about creating as many tools so that the users can utilize them to actually build their own content, right? And to, like you say, actually build out the metaverse. So you're right in your description, in the sense that like Cryptoverse is the platform, you know, the users are the ones that are going to be, by and large, deploying the content and have the ownership of that platform in large, in terms of the land ownership at the very least. So I guess in many ways, I think a good analogy might be, for example, we're building Windows and the users are building the apps that go on it.
Did you just compare the Cryptoverse to Windows? Is that the...
Yeah, it's a silly comparison, really, because if you look at the trajectory growth, it would actually dwarf Windows if we achieve what we want to achieve. So maybe I should have thought even bigger. I won't use the word No, I'm not. I'm not going to go down this path. I'm done. I'm just trying to give a general analogy, right, in terms of platform versus application, right?
That's great that you've mentioned that. The overwhelming theme of the month was user creation. So all the questions coming in were about user creation. And we've got this, I imagine this is true in our metaverse and a lot of metaverses where people have bought land, they've invested their money in this virtual real estate.
Yeah.
They all want to know what they can do with it next. So for all the listeners out there, what are desperately news on creating content and their content in the Cryptoverse. What is your vision for that? And actually, do we have any kind of tools that we're building at the moment that are going to enable people to do that?
Yeah, this is the part I think that really excites me, like genuinely, honestly. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, the vision's there in the light paper. That's what everybody should have read, and they can still read it now and go back to and have a very strong idea of the vision for, how user-generated content is going to be procured or curated into into the metaverse. In terms of the tooling, though, yes, there's a lot of tools that we're working on. Off the top of my head, the character creation tool is already underway. So if you think about like customization of avatar and creation of avatars, of course, like the amount of customization will make it very strong for users to feel that they're really unique. Of course, the longer term goal is to get the ability for users to import their own created avatars out from a platform outside of, say, Cryptoverse. I don't know, like a creation platform like Maya or whatever it may be, Blender, and then import that. But the character avatar tool to begin with is going to be like really exciting and offer like quite a lot of customization opportunities. So we're really excited about that. The work that's going on there is really exciting and progressing well. The probably more important question, or the more important tools in the earlier stages, though, relate to essentially what I would call like infrastructure tooling. So one of those infrastructure tools is essentially a tool which will measure the user's parcel size and then will automatically calculate the build height that they can build to. So I know the questions around build heights, it will be one that the community is asking in large. I've seen these questions. The idea is to provide a tool which will allow users to just automatically know how high they can build. And then it'll allow them to kind of make decisions about, how high I want to build versus how much of the surface area I want to use, for example. So often we're following, to some extent, like traditional architectural and structural engineering kind of terms, which is gross floor area and floor area ratio. Those are the two terms which essentially what they mean is if I have a square box and I want to build, let's say, if I use all of that surface area and I can build 4 stories high, but I have to use every inch of that square box. That means I've got no pathways, for example, around the edge or no garden or whatever it may be. So I'm going to build actually just 2 stories high, which means I only have to use a half of the surface area of that floor. So we're creating a tool which kind of will automatically do that calculation for users based on their floor areas, and then they can make their own decisions about how they want to build. That tool, in turn, will inform the polygon count as well. So when users are also going to be thinking about questions around, well, how many polys can I have on my land? Again, once that tool is ready in terms of the height, we can also then essentially code that tool so that it communicates with the polygon tool so that the two will work in tandem with one another. For example, if I want to build 2 stories high, then I need to split X amount of polygons across those two stories. Or if I actually only build 1 story, I can just pack all of my polygon budget in that 1 story, for example. So there's like 2 tools I've talked about. The one that we're working on in great depth right now is the build height one. And then secondly, there's also like a spline tool as well that's been worked on. That's got huge functionality, but in particular, it will help with the perimeter as well, like and procedurally kind of placing fences around my land or whatever it may be.
You talked about lots of tools there, and I was listening to most of it, I would say.
Did you get bored? Did you get bored there?
No, of course not.
Sorry, I'm just popular. My phone was ringing. I've just muted it.
That's all right. I've not had a call in weeks. So, Rob, you talked about tools. We talked offline actually about a tool to be able to download kind of like a sort of a snapshot of your land to give people exact metrics. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, sorry, that one did slip my mind, but that's probably equally, if not more important than the build height tool actually. It may be in the really short term. One of the tools that's being worked on at the moment is the ability for users to essentially log in to the website, much like they do right now, and they can see their land. But actually, once they authenticate their ownership through signing into MetaMask and essentially seeing their lands, the plan is that users would also be able to, download an FBX, which is like a 3D file format, which will be to scale of what their land is, meaning that once they download that file, they can import it into, say, like Blender or Maya or another 3D creation software tool. For those that are a bit more, I would say, savvy and don't want to wait forever to start getting going with building their content with all the tools that we'll provide, they can download that FBX perfectly to scale, and they can import it into those creation platforms, and then they can start building their content to the scale of their land and get going with that pretty quickly, so that when Cryptoverse platform launches more widely, users can pretty much just look to kind of getting that content in as soon as it's ready to go.
I see. That's going to be music to people's ears, I think. I think that will cover a lot of people's questions about how can I get started now. Even when you said about being able to see how big the land is, and calculating that, I think that's something that people have been asking for quite a while. So I think it's great. Can you announce that that's going to be ready tomorrow?
Yeah, of course. I mean, honestly, like, the team that we've assembled are experts in what they do. And quite frankly, I'm blown away daily, and I know, Dan, you sit in on these calls as well, and you listen to the work that's going on, and sometimes you got to kind of be in awe of some of these creatives that we have and some of these developers. But ultimately, a lot of these tools, they don't exist. They just don't. So they have to be built from scratch, and unfortunately, with that, there's development time, and it comes with time. But we are making good progress. As far as I am aware, the actual build tool, the height tool, is actually finished now. And as far as I'm aware, the tool for downloading FBXs is also done now.
Do you sound like Boris Johnson.
Do I?
As far as I'm aware,
again,
there were no
our
parties.
International community members might not get that reference.
Boris Johnson is the disgraced UK Prime Minister that is leaving office. Partygate, yeah. Look it up, actually. They had a series of parties, they denied it. But, fair play to them.
They're like, it all unraveled in the end, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, kind of. Anyway, my train of thought about the FBX thing tool. Yeah, so it's just about making sure that works in tandem with, the kind of proof of ownership authentication requirements with MetaMask login to the website, and then hooking it up on the front end so that users can actually download that FBX from a database that we're storing those 3D file formats off, and making that available on a wider scale, because obviously the FBXs, the land, there's the map's absolutely ginormous. So the amount of 3D files there is a large amount. So we have to think a little bit about the logicality of, storing in the cloud, for example, storage space, hooking that up to the calls for, like, we need to make sure that the APIs work for, and I know maybe a lot of this will go over your head, and maybe even the community members, but the point I'm getting at is that there's work to be done to make sure that works seamlessly from a user's point on the front end to just log in and download the FBX. And that's what we're working on currently.
No, that's great. And I think people will just enjoy to hear that that's actually something that's being actively developed. Like you say, I sit in those meetings and watch you guys sort of show off your latest work and the things that you're working on. And I've got to say that the avatar creation tool looked pretty awesome. I can't wait to give myself a big 6-pack or even 8-pack, Why even stop at 6?
12-pack,
yeah.
Did you see the one where Alex, who's one of our developers, did you see the one where it was kind of funny. He made this guy really fat, and then he put a 6-pack over the top of him. So it was like this, like, just massive beer belly with a six-pack on the top. It looked really freaky. Did you see that one?
Well, avatar creation, I didn't see it, but avatar creation is going to be a new form of self-expression, right? So not only like what are you wearing is like a discussion in the metaverse, like, okay, what clothes are you wearing, etc. But also things like, who are you? You know, are you going to be a big alligator? Are you going to be like a carpet, or a lamppost or something like that?
Well, this is, this also kind of plays into the wider narrative of what's happening in society right now around, how I identify as an individual, the collective pronouns and stuff. And I'm not going to form an opinion on any of this right now because, by and large, I like to think I'm quite a forward-thinking guy and whatever. So, I'm cool with it all. I actually am not it doesn't stress me out in any particular ways. I'm not paid to think about it in too much depth. But, there's a very kind of, I don't know whether it's radical or just the way that society is reflected right now. There's a lot of thought around people just should be able to identify as they want to identify, right? And that's fair enough. And I guess what the metaverse offers and what Avatar offers in terms of identity is that you can identify as an alligator if you want, right? Unfortunately, there's going to be some physical and biological limitations for you to be able to do that in the real world.
But in the metaverse, I could be an alligator, to my heart's content.
Well, as long as the community says you can be an alligator. Because, the community might be that it's a bit silly for you to be identifying as an alligator. But this all comes back to the kind of ethical and moral dilemmas that you have to discuss. And this is why it's important that the community makes this decision, not just me that just goes, yeah, it's cool for you to be alligator, but no, you can't be a crocodile.
It's just going to be me constantly asking people, can I be an alligator? It feels like. And people say no. Not interested. Maybe. So, Rob, actually, it brings me on to another question from Cal2. We'll give him a shout out. Cal2. You're on the podcast.
Cal.
We'll tag him.
At Cal2.
At Cal2. Cal said if he wants to, or she, or they want to create a...
Or she, or j'aime.
Go on.
Well, just going back to the... I hit my mic then. Going back to the pronouns thing, right? Just them, they.
I said they.
They. Okay, I'll give you that then. Go on
then. I did the ones that I knew off the top of my head. I'm actually pro everything, so, just a disclaimer there. So Cal said if they want to create a line of clothing items, right, in the Cryptoverse, well, they kind of have to... they've designed them. How do they get them into the Cryptoverse? And then how do they kind of sell them? And could they then transfer them to other metaverses, for example?
Yeah, I mean, we're probably a couple of steps away from custom importation of wearable assets. That typically when we think about just users dragging and dropping assets and making them readily available in Cryptoverses, that's one of the later steps because you have to build other things before you can enable that to happen. But we have got at least one developer actively exploring modding tools and the ability for that hopefully sooner rather than what we thought might be a lot later, because we thought, as with everything, you have to build this entirely custom solution. But actually, we actually think that we might be able to find a partner for this, which would help a lot. The longer term in terms of if somebody's creating a wearable collection in, say, Maya or Blender and wants to bring that in, that might be a little while longer. But in the same breath, because of the work that's been done on the character creation tool, we're hopeful that essentially the tooling for wearables will work nicely in tandem with the character creation tool without going, too technical here, which means that actually being able to create some of a user's own wearables with the tooling provided inside Cryptoverse might be also possible in the shorter term, meaning that, ultimately it depends on, how unique, how bespoke, what exact artistic vision Cal has for his or her or their...
alligators. The vision was alligators. I've got it here. It's written down.
Their collection,
yeah.
As I was saying.
Yeah.
It will impact that answer. But ultimately, obviously, the goal is that would be possible on both layers. There was a wider question there about them minting it and NFTs. Well, we're in a decentralized world. Cryptoverse is designed to be decentralized. So again, it's dependent on, Do you want to utilize a tool that is created by Cryptoverse for then minting these wearables as NFTs via the Cryptoverse platform? And then, or do you want to mint the collection via Solidity contracts with your own smart contract dev and then import those smart contracts into Cryptoverse? And I'm looking at you and I know all of this is going over your head, but my point is that...
What is he talking about?
It really depends.
What is he... I've not got a clue, honestly. Rob, can you explain decentralized again, please?
Do you want me to talk about a metaverse again?
No, thanks. Rob, actually, the fashion is a very interesting point, I think. Even the vision for fashion in all metaverses, I feel like we're going to get to this stage where fashion is going to be everywhere. Like, so you can have this item that you love, a hoodie. You can wear it in the metaverse. You can have it as your social avatar as well, and then you can also wear it in real life to college.
Fidgetal.
Let's get fidgetal.
Do you
want to sing the theme song that we come up with?
You can sing it.
No. So, yeah, I just think it's a really interesting space. And actually, we, Cryptoverse, are going to be at New York Fashion Week in a couple of weeks. And we'll be basically showing off that whole journey from, hey, you want an item basically everywhere. And this is how you can do it, kind of thing. So I just think it's an interesting space to be in right now. Fashion, I think that's going to be massive as well with skins. Think about every single game. All the way these free games, these freemium games, make their money is by selling clothes and things for your
Valorant.
everything,
CS:GO
right?
made all its money through skins, right? Fortnite,
Rocket League, they all do. Call of Duty is all about buying skins. That's free as well. So I just think that is such an obvious transition into the metaverse and something that is going to blow up.
It's already working for like Decentraland, for example, right? I mean, they have a really healthy wearable kind of collection, and community around the wearables, and people take a lot of pride in their digital representation of self, a la their avatars and what they're wearing, and it does make a lot of sense as well when you think about it. I mean, at least those wearables are never going to wear, they're never going to kind of tear or grow old, and yes, the idea being that they would start to be, hopefully, interoperable with other platforms as well, where they provided utility. And, as the trend of society moves towards more and more towards virtual living, belonging, spending most of their time there, does it make sense to spend hundreds of pounds on a jumper which you might wear once a month, or hundreds of pounds on a jumper that you wear every day in your avatar that you go into, and that's where the majority of your human interaction comes from? So yeah, I think you're absolutely right. There's a lot of very low-hanging fruit with digital wearables and fashion.
It's time for the community question of the month. So I went through all the questions, and there were several of them that came in. There are several questions that we got, and I've sort of whittled it down. And I think this is the best question of the month, and I want you to answer honestly. Is it much detail as possible, because this person's really thought about this question. So I want you to really give it your all. Okay, none of your sort of boring answers from before. Just sort of quick, not really thinking about it. Proper answer to this one. Okay, so this is the question of the month.
You're fired. That's my Alan Sugar play.
Are you ready for it?
Yeah, go on.
All right. So, Catcraft asks. Catcraft asks.
Yep.
Can I get a cat?
And it can't be a boring answer.
That's the question of the month. Yeah, do what you like with it.
I like that. I like that question. It's a great question.
Is it? I mean, yeah,
I think
it is.
It's an excellent question.
Yeah.
Catcraft wants to know if they can get a cat.
Because
they want to craft cats.
Well, because they're clearly into cats, is what I'm saying. So they clearly want to know, can they get a cat? And it doesn't even say where. It doesn't say just, can I get a cat in general?
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, please, if you feel that you want a cat in real life, get a cat. If we're talking about Metaverse, which presumably if it was
don't assume, because you don't know that. It could be just saying...
where was the question posted?
In the Cryptoverse Discord, yeah.
Okay. So since it's the Cryptoverse forum, I would assume it's okay to think that the question is relative to ascertaining a cat in Cryptoverse?
Can Catcraft get his cat?
You're presuming it's a he again.
Oh, we're going to fall out here. Can Catcraft get their cat?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, without a shadow of a doubt, like, again, society, like civilization, like other metaverse platforms, pets. People love pets. Tamagotchi, mate. I mean, going back there, but definitely, like, even World of Warcraft. I mean, people love the pets and the mounts and whatever else. Absolutely, there's huge value add.
Yoshi
from Mario.
Yoshi,
yeah. Everyone loves pets, don't they? It's intrinsic, I think. For a lot of people, anyway, love pets. Of course, people make decisions to not have animals to get that. But yeah, I mean, the intention would be to have ability to acquire cats. Much like any platform, right? It's important that there's additional revenue coming in to support development ongoing. So I do think Cryptoverse will create their own pet and collections and enable users to buy them. But in terms of, can I create my own cat and bring that into Cryptoverse? Again, I think longer term, once this curation process is in place, we would probably look to facilitate that as well. But look, creating a pet, there's a huge amount of work that would go into that in terms of actually making it an immersive pet experience in Cryptoverse. So
like Nintendogs or something like that, so AI, how do dogs behave, how do cats behave?
AI, exactly, yeah. So, I mean, we've got a developer who's like an expert in AI, so they would obviously implement their learning into programming pets to behave like real animals, for example, with AI. So unless you have those skill sets, your own creation of a pet may not replicate the experience you're hoping to get in the sort of longer term. But yeah, animals, pets is definitely something that's on our radar.
I've got a solution. Maybe like users could also be pets. So like you could maybe vote for a certain group of users to be someone's pet. It could be like a vote.
Where are you going with this?
So like if you want to be a pet yourself digitally, you can sort of assign yourself that role as a pet. Alligator, for example.
You're going mental. Have you ever seen Gamer?
No, that's with the guy from Dexter, though, isn't it? Michael C. Hall.
No. Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, it is. He's the baddie in inverted commas, but the goodie is the guy from 300. Yeah, goodie. We're going back to
Jared Butler.
Jared Butler. That's it. Yeah. And in Gamer, right? If you recall, there was like a character, like a virtual world that shared the characteristics of a metaverse, right? It was like some sort of cross between like AR, VR, sort of, or like a phygital sort of. You can control somebody's real body through a chip that's implanted in their head in these different experiences, right? So what you're talking about there is a little bit like that.
Interesting, yeah. Also, could we not potentially put headsets on real cats? Because I feel like they're missing out on the whole. They're going to just be stuck in reality while their humans are. These cats are all going to die of starvation because everyone's in the metaverse.
You're killing me.
Get them in it.
Yeah, I answer things really seriously and take it, serious, and then you bring the tone down. Good question.
Yeah, no,
that's why I said at the start it's a good question.
And it's not stupid because they have one question of the month and will take away some prize that I've not thought of yet. What could that be, Rob?
Why are you asking me?
No, because
you're the one that has to make these decisions. It's what I pay you for.
No, yeah. So we'll talk credit. They're getting some serious street credit.
Some street cred.
Yes.
How about if and when we create a pets, we will give them a free cat.
You heard it here. So Catcraft, you got your wish. You got your cat. It's coming to you first. You will own the first. Just message me, message Rob 100 times a day. When am I getting that cat?
Do not do that. Please do not do that. Like, the pet creation is a ways off. But I do believe, given the spirit of this whole conversation, that the right thing to do would be to give Catcraft a cat.
Yeah, I do too. There you go. You heard it here. Rob, you said many times on this podcast how much of an expert you are on blockchain and metaverse.
Can I just interject really quickly? I'm really sorry, but Can we tell our community members about the time that you convinced a South African girl for 3 years at university that you were South African, and then eventually she found out you weren't South African?
You're going to get me put in prison. I'm like the Tinder swindler. You can't put that on here.
That's definitely going on here.
No.
Do not cut this.
No, you've got to cut this.
You're calling me out, saying that I say I'm a blockchain expert. I'm just bringing back a little bit of a story from the past.
That's not the same. Okay, yeah. So we're at university, me and Rob, studying for our master's degree, doing very well. As you know, Rob's very well educated. He's said it a million times. So he's very smart. He's a smart guy. I love him. So we're at university, we're on a night out, and I meet a lovely young lady. Not that young, of age.
You need to just stop using the word young so loosely.
The good thing is if you say this, you have to cut it. Do you know what I mean?
Late teens, early 20s, of university age.
Anyway, so she wouldn't have liked my actual personality. So the goal... The goal was to sort of get her to be, and I couldn't stand out from the rest of the people there because I was just not that cool, as I am today. So my idea to getting in was to kind of do an accent. Unfortunately, so I did a South African accent because I've been watching Blood Diamond, the film, great film. That's all I could. That's the only accent I could do. So I did that accent, and
to be clear, it's Danny Archer. Right?
Danny Archer, yeah, and. The thing was, what I wasn't expecting is that she was also South African. So she was so excited to meet another South African at university because she hadn't met any. So I had to keep it up, obviously. Later that night, she was introducing me to all of her friends, and I was having to go, "Hi, how are you? Hi," and that's not Australian. I was like, "Hi, how are you? Hey, how are you?" Anyway, so had to keep it up for the rest of university. I used to bump into her on the streets, and she'd be like, "Oh, hi," and I'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Like, every time that actually happened.
This is a true story. Yeah. This is a true story.
And so that's dignity gone down the drain. So that's Rob. As we were saying, you are a crypto bro. And whilst we've been talking a lot about blockchain and metaverses, I think what the community would really like to hear is maybe your top tip for the month on sort of crypto. So if you had sort of 30 seconds flat to give someone a really hot crypto tip, what is it that you would give them? Well, we'll build on this each month. We'll come up with something new. But what are you giving them right now?
I mean, it depends on your audience, how well they know crypto. But I think just right now, what's on my mind is there's a lot of FUD at the moment. Markets are down. World's burning to death.
FUD, Elmer FUD.
Yeah,
what the hell's that?
Fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Oh.
A lot of negative sentiment. Flying about all sorts. And it's like, look, I think my top tip right now is just to keep calm and carry on. Just, you believe in the protocol, you believe in it, just carry on. Just enjoy it. It's all part of the journey. Don't believe everything you read. Do your fact checking. I saw something the other day again about OpenSea and whatever, and I don't think I think it's just repeated old news and FUD and whatever. And just be careful with what you read and whatever. Take a lot of it with a pinch of salt. And as always, is underpinned by just stay safe. Do make sensible decisions. Don't click on dodgy links and all that.
Thank you very much, Rob. That was very helpful. Rob, I think it's important for us to share with the listeners information about what we're up to at Cryptoverse. So we've sort of talked about the tools that are being created. We've talked about how people can access them and what's coming up. We talked about if you can get a cat. I just wanted to draw people to some of the things that are coming up that they can expect from us as a business over the coming months. So one of the things I'm really excited about is that the Cryptoverse Direct, right? So this is a once a quarter live stream where we'll be showing off the biggest updates in Cryptoverse. So think about something like E3, or not as big as that, but they have these sort of trade shows. They have these 30-minute kind of really tight, really branded shows where they say, this is what we've done and this is what's coming up, right? So I'm really excited to have that on. Actually, I think you'll be a big part of that. But just to let the listeners know, this is going to basically cover development, any kind of new big initiatives that we've got going on. So just make sure you look out for that and tune into it because it's going to be it's a real big deal for us, And the good thing about these things is that they're once a quarter, so you can kind of set your diary to it. So it's not like when am I going to get the next big chunk of news about Cryptoverse?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's this date. Okay, so that's happening in October. So just keep an eye on that. It's also exciting because we're actually going to New York Fashion Week as well, Rob, aren't we?
Yeah. Looking forward to that. I mean, myself personally, I don't think I'll be going, but obviously we've got team members going. I believe Emma's going as well as CEO, as you know. So there's a lot of, hopefully, we're led to believe there's going to be a lot of, like I would say, traditional brands from wearables, fashion perspective. They're doing some really, obviously, naturally, they're very interested in Metaverse right now. And I believe that the intention from our team is to produce a little bit like we did with the, the toy industry and licensing event with regards to, showcasing a VR experience where, toys could come to life or other brand and licensing kind of, products. Same will be done with the New York Fashion Week, where the intention is to build a metaverse fashion experience that can be kind of experienced in VR, probably maybe even a little bit of AR in there potentially, and showcase probably a couple of the earlier wearables that would be available for Cryptoverse. And also for ChainGuardians as well, as hopefully many will know, there's a close link between the two companies. And ChainGuardians has a really sort of strong fashion strategy for merchandise. It has its own merchandise store. And some of the really cool new designs that are coming out there, the intent would be to showcase them as physical, but also as digital, so users can see and really understand how they would be immersed and have the ability to have digital ownership and IRL ownership, for example. So there's lots of exciting stuff and work that's been doing towards New York Fashion Week. So yeah, that should be really cool. Yeah,
we're really excited about it, and as everyone we talked about wearables a lot on this episode, but it's going to be a great way to show some of the latest pieces we've got. We're actually going to be. We're going to have influencers wearing our clothes, walking down the runway wearing our new items. So it's going to be wicked. We'll be posting about it. Just check that out when you can.
Are you going there?
I've not been invited yet.
Maybe it's got lost in the post, mate.
We'll see.
Lost in the Discord post.
We'll see. There's about 6 weeks left, so I've got enough time to try and sort of get myself on the trip.
Showcase your importance of being there.
Well, you need someone that's really stylish to be with you. So
you won't be there, will you, John?
You need someone that's really stylish to be there. So I feel like not taking me to New York would be a mistake. If you really wanted to make an impact.
Is this who is this comment being directed towards right now?
I don't know, just anyone that will listen. No, I'm only joking. I think the best people that need to be there are the ones that are going to actually drive the show forward, and it's going to be a great show for us. So I've just seen the setup of it yesterday, and it's looking phenomenal.
Oh, really?
The artwork is just fantastic.
Seen it. I mean, like, as far as kind of you have got this thing about repeatedly saying, I'm an expert in this, meaning me.
Can we just cut that and use that as a soundbite? I'm an expert in this, cut.
But I'm also, I want to hold my hands up to say, like, fashion's not really my thing, right? I mean, look at me, Like, okay, the trainers are okay, but I mean, this is like a Hunter times Hunter anime t-shirt. It's the sort of thing that a 15-year-old would wear, No,
but we talked about this offline, actually, guys. I think that the arrogance Rob shows by wearing whatever he wants out in the public is just so clear to see. Like, you have to be really narcissistic to wear that in public.
That's silly. That's not true. I thought, as a society, we were moving more and more towards, mental health awareness and, identifying as individuals however we would like to and so on. And obviously, like, what you wear forms part of the identity. So we shouldn't be making preconceptions about, this being me demonstrating my narcissism as a result of wearing what I want. It could just be that I feel more comfortable in my being and identity and sense of self through wearing what I would prefer to wear as opposed to wearing, I don't know, like black trousers and a blazer.
All I'm saying is you've got to be very confident to step out looking like that. Just joking, Rob. You look awesome. And I think a lot of our people listening would prefer your outfit to mine a million times over.
I don't know.
Rob, we're also at Token 2049 in Singapore. Can you tell us a bit more about what the plan is for that? And are you going there, for example, this time?
Yeah, I'll be going to Token 2049 because I went to the one in London last year. And it was really good. It was, there was a good mixture of corporate and, community or consumers, if you like. So got to network with a lot of people within the industry. So built some strong relationships for partnership purposes and, co-marketing and all these kind of other opportunities. At the same time, was able to kind of network with, discuss with and understand people's where their heads at, their levels of understanding. It's on the consumer level as well, and do a lot of kind of, actually building relationships with people at that level. So we got a really good mix from the Token 2049 last year. So we're excited to go to Singapore and hopefully have the same sort of feeling. I was also on a panel with three, I would say, pioneers in our industry.
Showing off again?
No. I was showing off. I'm just saying, like, it was a good value add, right? So, because I also got to listen to other people who have been in this space a long time, who have got really, I would say, successful, either DAOs or really successful, orgs, foundations, and so on. So I had the opportunity to learn myself as well. And that's obviously always beneficial for anyone, is that you want to continue self-improvement. So for me personally as well, I found it really useful.
Awesome. So yeah, just to sort of round that up then. So the big things we're really doing at Cryptoverse over the next couple of months, really, we're going to be at a couple different events. Token 249, 2049. We're going to be at New York Fashion Week, and we're going to be producing our own sort of Cryptoverse Direct as well. So
yeah, can I throw another one in there as well? Actually, it's a bit of a late bloomer, but a guy that I know reached out and asked if I wanted to go down there. It's literally just before going to Singapore, but it'll probably only be me and one or two others. I was actually going to speak to you about it. I hadn't even had a chance yet. It's called Zebu Live. It's like a bit of a DeFi event. It's going on in and around London. Matt Hancock's going to be there, apparently. Believe it or not.
Lock up your daughters.
Oh my God. If you're going to be there, Matt Hancock's listening to this, how are you going to get yourself out of that one?
Matt Hancock, we're not going to cross paths. It's not going to be like me and Matt Hancock making
it's
friends.
Like, it's going to be at the event in and around. We will be in the speaker area.
I know he likes partying, so maybe he will be there, yes.
Poor Matt. I love you, Matt. Big up the Matt.
He's not listening.
He might.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
So, anyway, but in all seriousness, that's a couple of days before Singapore, but because I'd have to fly from London anyway, I was like, well, actually it works out all right because I can just travel to London a day or two before, get the benefit of going to that event, and then fly out to Singapore and go there. So that's over a weekend. It won't impact the work I do before and whatever. So good low-hanging fruit. So yeah, that's actually another event that probably be at.
I think that's all we've got time for then, Rob. The lights are flashing in the studio. One is out. Maybe we should have paid up front. Thanks to everyone for listening and to watching. We'll be back next month with a brand new episode, new guests and new stuff to discuss. Thanks to Rob. Thanks to the community for the questions. And thank you from me as well. If you want to continue the conversation, come and join us on Discord and Telegram. Everyone is really friendly. All the social links are in the description. Come and talk to us, please. Come and message Rob 10,000 times a day. Rob, it's an option is all I'm saying.
It's not an option.
Matt Hancock's biggest fan. Look him up anyway.
Not his biggest fan either.
Look him up if you're one of our sort of...
And Switzerland, as far as Matt Hancock is concerned.
So you don't... Okay, yeah, great. He's not against him. That says a lot as it is in itself. So yeah, thank you so much to Rob for joining us. And that's all for now. We are Cryptoverse and we are making a metaverse.